Welcome to part 2, the wisdom of the breath. This is awareness, which is the second of the components of rebirthing breathwork, the principles that we use in rebirthing. And although we don't talk about them much, they are really fundamental. So to begin with, what I'd like to do is to grab my rebirthing book, which is my pride and joy. You can find it on Amazon, and just read a little bit about it. I actually wrote the precursor to this, the original Rebirthing Breathwork, which was only a little booklet at that time, about 32 pages, I think. I wrote it a long time ago because I felt there was a gap in the market, because all the rebirthing books I'd read were American, and American life is not the same as English life. The language is different, the expectations are different, and the premises on which we build our lives are different. So that's why I wrote this. Anyway, so the principles of rebirthing are circular breathing, awareness, integration, relaxation, and uniqueness. I'm just going to read awareness for you. This is awareness as it affects the breathwork session. I'm going to talk about awareness in its wholeness, but just as the breathwork session here. While you are lying down and learning the breathing technique, you will be asked to notice any bodily sensations, tingling, tightness, and thoughts that come to mind, memories or ideas, without judgment. Observing in this way while still breathing continually enables you to acknowledge all feelings, old and new. This is my succinct style. It's all you get is just the one paragraph. But I will now examine it. And I would love it if you would like to ask me any questions. That includes on the recording. I'd be very happy to engage in dialogue with you, talk about awareness, talk about it as it fits into rebirthing breathwork, but also as it fits into everything, as it fits into our daily lives, as it fits into our ideas about what to expect, and as it fits into the balance of our desires and our successes in achieving those desires, because I think that's really important. Let's go and get some water. So let me find my minimal notes I've made. I'm continuing to talk. Actually, I've changed my mind. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the beginning of life, where as a baby, when we're born, or even before that, we have feelings. We're aware of those feelings. They are probably our biggest sensation for a long time when we're forming, when we're developing, and during probably the first couple of years, I would say. And I think it may be linked to language and as we develop our language and our understanding of those around us. But of course, pre-verbally, we are feeling whether we're being encouraged, approved of, conditioned. Those things which our family, our society, our parents, all of those things, all interlocking together to create the experience that we have as an individual. Excuse me. And I really have been educated by my friends and my clients as time has gone on to show that it really is an individual experience. The experience that we have of our immediate family, of our own interaction with our parents, with that interaction and the placement of us on our family into society in the way that our family operates differently from other families, perhaps, it is unique. And siblings really disagree with each other, especially when they look back about what life was like for them. And that is because our experience is unique. We are our personality, as well as our history, as well as our character, as well as our interaction with those around us. So that means that all of the ingredients that go into us as a whole person are different from everyone else. So that awareness, when we are very, very tiny, is what informs our the words are escaping me, our volition. So the feelings that we have, our awareness of those feelings, when we're very small, inform our volition as to what we want, what we're feeling that we don't want, what we wish to move towards, and how we feel about it. So as a very small person, you will have watched, and this is fascinating to me, how a baby, and still a toddler, and to a minute extent an adult, physically moves depending on how they're feeling. I find that really, really interesting. So if you watch small people, you can see some really obvious examples. Particularly if you're a perceptive and receptive parent, you'll see a baby, even in its sleep, making hungry faces. And that's them becoming aware that they would like to eat, that they're hungry, that they'd like to go to their mum and suckle. And if they are carried, if they are next to the mother, they can even do that without waking up. They can fulfill their need as they become aware of it. And that's actually, now that I've done so much work, how we're supposed to live in the whole of our lives. And, oh gosh, I feel as though I've done such a huge circumnavigation, might even be around the world's worth, to get from that place of knowing what I wanted and being aware when I was very, very small, to having travelled through all of that being denied, or well, not all of it, gosh, I'm still alive, so it can't all have been denied, but a lot of my personal preferences being denied, and my expression being denied and discouraged and conditioned into other expression, being able all the way around that journey, and then finally coming back to realising that the only way that I can be happy in the world is to use my awareness of how I'm feeling, what I would like, to pursue the actual goals that are mine. And I'm maybe sounding quite vociferous. I might be sounding quite forceful about this, and it's not for you, it's for me, because it's taken me so long to realise the only person who knows how I feel is me. The only person who knows what I want is me. And so I am really polishing my ability to absorb, to understand, to feel, to be aware of those feelings. So now let me shift to go slightly from the history and the personal to being a rebirther. Now, I'm sure other rebirthers feel in a similar way. My own actual goal as a rebirther, rather than as a rebirthee, so although this was using my practice in my breath work, I was using it to gain intuition. That was my aim, that was my goal, was to become really intuitive about those around me and about what action I wanted to take with the information that I gained from being aware of how I felt. And that's been extraordinarily useful, and it has come to pass. It didn't take long. You know how you set an intention, it doesn't take long. But gathering the information, informing my awareness, really choosing to listen. That's the expression I can use. And I don't mean listening for sound. I mean listening, what would you call it? I suppose it's being aware, isn't it? Really, listening's the word that comes to mind. All of the feeling, all of the movement, all the emotion, all of the considerations, all of the environmental vibration, all of the information that I could get, wanting to be aware of that. And only recently have I become aware of some more refined things. So, for example, I was going to say externally, but I suppose it's not entirely. Well, we're in the grander scheme of things, of course, we're all one anyway, aren't we? But my understanding of what my sixth sense is, what my intuition is, became explained for me, for myself, by realizing that my sixth sense is actually an awareness of a whole body vibration. And I think that I can describe that, first of all, to give you an example, would be when you're aware of somebody looking at you. And we are, aren't we? If we know somebody's looking at us, we look around to see who it is. And that's something that was really brought home to me in a way that I wanted to explain to myself. And that was brought home to me by this notion that all of our senses, all of our information, all of our awareness of what's around us, whether it's from sight, from hearing, from smell or touch or taste, is vibration. It's all information that we have developed specific senses to interpret. But in its raw state, it's something that our whole body senses. So we have special cells that have developed in various places, particularly on our head, but touch, of course, is all over, and particularly on our fingertips. But we have developed very specialised areas of our bodies, but we still maintain the whole body experience, the whole body awareness. And if we feel it and really tune into it, we can use that information. It's extremely valuable. So in my own experience and in others that I know, I've become aware of something. I have no idea how to explain how I became aware of it. I'm guessing that as time goes on, we will gain understanding of how it works. So now that I've satisfied myself that I understand what a sixth sense is in an environment, I'm anticipating that I can explain it in a factual way when I've gained more experience. And I'm sort of pleased on the one hand that it's not magic, which means simply something I really can never understand. I'm pleased on the one hand that it is an extension of my physical senses. But I'm also, I suppose the childlike part of me is a little bit disappointed that there is an explanation for everything, because we like some bits to stay magic. And maybe the magic is our experience of a collection of happenings. And so it's okay for me to understand that there is, on some level, always an explanation for something. That's okay. But the example I was going to give you, which mystified me for a while, was when I was riding my motorbike on a motorway in the dark at night. And it wasn't very busy, but I was in the middle lane overtaking, and there was a car possibly, maybe a couple of 100 meters in front of me. And for some reason, I pulled into the inside lane, and I possibly had to wait and go behind something to do that. After thinking that I was going to overtake, I decided not to. And it was revealed to me as the car carried on moving forward, that there was quite a big lump of wood in the road, sort of, I don't know, 4x4 perhaps, quite big, falling off the back of a lorry. And I was sort of startled, but sort of not, because I'd had that feeling that I should move. And I'm very pleased I did. It was in the centre of the carriageway, so it wouldn't have affected a car, but it would have affected me hugely. I would have come off my bike. And that sort of experience is something that I'm I'm beginning to understand how it might work, but much more importantly for me, I'm beginning to listen to it and to take action on it, even when I don't understand where it's come from, or before I've understood where it's come from, which I consider very valuable. And I think I'm not alone in this. I know lots and lots of people are doing this. I know lots of people are training themselves to become more spiritually aware, more spiritually connected. But my real joy and my work in the world is this connection between the spiritual and the physical. And so I guess that's why I'm a rebirther, because that's where they're joined. They're the spiritual, our soul, I believe, is tethered to our physical body by our breath. It's joined in this sort of area because, of course, when we come into the world from our mother supporting us, we breathe in. When we leave the world, we breathe out. So I'm describing awareness in its fullest sense in many ways, and we can be aware of many, many things, or we can become aware of something tiny, something subtle. I'm beginning to spend a lot more time in satisfied aloneness, because I've become so aware that when I don't spend enough time on my own, I cannot feel properly. I can't properly be aware of subtlety. And it's the subtle connections that are perhaps the most powerful for me. I don't know if you agree. I don't know if that's your experience as well. At the same time, and on the same level, I've really become aware that being surrounded by loud noise or a lot of people or lots of goings on, even if they're internal, even if it's internal pressure, even if it's my own worry or my own fear about being late or rushing or trying to finish something, whatever it might be, the busyness, wherever it's coming from, stops me being able to be so aware, stops the messages from being clear enough. It lowers my ability to hear what's right for myself and to make good decisions. So that's a little bit about my idea of awareness, and I'd love to know yours. Feel free to connect on this, to debate this, to let me know by personal connection or by discussion. I'd be very happy to join in that with you. So what's it for? Asking what awareness is for. My understanding is that our awareness is part of the chain of feeling something, becoming aware of it, and then moving towards something that we like and want and prefer and choose. So the awareness is a really important middle of that three-chain process. And the beginning of this beginning practice, as I've described about a baby, they make their endeavour to be clear about what they want as soon as they're aware of it. And when all works according to biological plan, they will be given and satisfied pretty immediately with what they want. Their wants are few: warmth, safety, security, mother's milk, pretty few needs at that moment. And they're easy for the mother in particular, but they're fairly easy for adults to provide without much trouble, as long as the adult is also in connection with their awareness and what they want and carrying it out. And this is where the hitch occurs, because for whatever reason, historically, we have chosen to interrupt that three-chain process. We then are busy conditioning our babies and our children and ourselves not to carry on with our choices, because for whatever reason we believe that's not the correct way to live. And possibly, like me, you have found yourself having to reconnect those three parts of the chain. You've probably found yourself having to first of all acknowledge that we are supposed to have what we desire, we are supposed to pursue what we want in our lives, and that that's logical, that that's required, that that's a sort of selfishness, which is self-preservation and self-esteem, and that actually selfishness is the thing we really need to be training ourselves to move towards and not away from. So that's a huge deal in our culture. I don't know if there are any cultures that discourage people from following, reversing the training that we've had that selfishness is bad. Are there any? I don't know. So there are swathes of us learning that selfishness is a requirement, and having to undo all that stuff that's been overlaid over our awareness of what we need. And I've watched people, particularly men, but I've watched people denying their awareness of how they feel and becoming really unhappy. So that moves me to something that I feel is why people end up on my doorstep needing rebirthing. Because if we train our babies and our children that they may not have what they desire, and we train them that their judgment is faulty and that their awareness is misleading them, and that the feelings that they're becoming aware of, they're translating, and they're endeavouring to follow through to asking for what they desire and receiving what they desire, if we train them that that's all faulty, then they may not even be able to name their feeling or their emotion. That's where rebirthing comes in. Because fortunately, there is a beautiful and direct way to start to recouple the three-chain process, which I've incidentally just invented while talking to you now. I like it. And so the beauty of breathwork, particularly rebirthing, which is my model, it's the type I like to use. It's one that's been around for some time. I came across it in 1989, but it had been around for a while before that, since the 70s, when Leonard Orr discovered it, designed it in California. So what we're doing is we are connecting our breath and deliberately allowing the awareness that that gives us to inform what we're going to choose to do in our lives. But to start off with, the breathwork sessions, the rebirthing sessions, often are unraveling sessions. Because as we become aware of how distant we've set ourselves away from being able to be aware of our feelings, we have quite a lot of rejoining to do. That's where the rebirther comes in handy. That's where the process, I love it particularly, the lying down process of switching off all of the physical needs that I have, say, for example, to enable me to sit upright, to be holding my body, to be processing what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing. All of those things we can let go of during our rebirthing session. So the rebirther is there as a companion, as a guide, as security, as a safety zone, as an experienced person, as an emotional midwife, I call it too. And they are there so that you can switch off your internal bodyguard, your internal security guard, that's the one that makes sure that you're physically safe, that you're alert, that if you're standing, for example, that all of your core muscles are holding your body upright. All of that stuff goes on unconsciously, but it is taking up bandwidth. And if we turn off all of that, it enables us to have a huge amount more energy available for examining, for becoming aware, for feeling and breathing into the places that need healing, where we've become physically detached from our spiritual connection. And it's a beautifully simple process. It's fabulous and fascinating. It's liberating. It's unique to the individual. That's also lovely too. And I like it in its simplicity. The rebirthing breathwork process is just using the breath. There are no other factors. My hand is showing you what I do. Your breath goes in and out and in and out. And the presence of the rebirther and your consciousness helps you to unravel. It's just I don't know if you listen to Abraham, but it's what Abraham calls allowing the cork to bob up to the top of the water. It will do it on its own. You will become whole and healthy and consciously happy and following your desires if you stop suppressing stuff. We've been trained to suppress it. We've internalized that we must do so from our caregivers and our role models because they believed that would keep us safe and make us, I was going to say happy. That's not true. Their highest desire may not have been our happiness. It may have been simply survival because that's what they felt was the highest that we could achieve. So our caregivers, with the best in the world, taught us to suppress ourselves. And once we are adult and free of needing caregivers to tell us how to feel and how to manage ourselves, we can relearn to use the simple process we were born with, which is our feelings, our awareness of our feelings, and our following our desires to lead the life we wish to be happy and whole. That's why I love breathwork, because it's simple, because it encompasses, I was going to say integrates, because that's another principle of rebirthing, but it encompasses the beauty, the simplicity of the way that our biological cells work, their patterning, the real underlying way that we are designed to operate as humans. That's my belief and it's my experience. And my endeavour is to do it for myself. And I love it. I love it. I love my journey. I love what I'm doing. I love coming to the place where I'm sort of beginning to peep out at the world and reframe what I was taught about myself in particular, but about the world and whether I would be welcome as a person, as who I am. And so what I'm aware of, what I'm choosing to develop in the world right now, this time in my life, is to express myself completely. And the description I'm using for myself as a child was my sparkly, spangly self, which is, it's got a nice little sort of childish expression, but it describes beautifully what was suppressed in me and how that thwarted my growth, how it twisted my path, how it redirected and diverted me away from my own desires, away from my own satisfaction, away from being able to live who I truly am in the world, and took me to a place that was inappropriate because it was what my caring parents and grandparents and family sincerely believed was the right way to train me to be different in the world so that I would be lovable. And sadly, what it did was lead me to choose path, to choose, well, even career really, but also to choose relationship with people who couldn't deal with the real me because I wasn't being it. I was pretending to be something else. So it's not surprising, is it, really, that that's where I ended up. And now I'm reclaiming that, and I'm joyfully riding on my bike through my lovely life, really, really reclaiming this colourful Catherine. And every time, every day, being aware and asking myself, how am I feeling in regard to the fullness of who I choose to be? Being aware of everything that informs that. So awareness is information. It's listening to the information. It's being informed in the sense of gathering the information. And I really enjoy that. I'm feeling, this is New Year feeling. It's the first time really in my life, I think, that I've properly asked, listened, and set out to become the person that I truly am, the colourful person I truly am. So that's really lovely for me. Now I'm just going to look at my notes and I'm going to check that I've covered what I was expecting to. Okay, so yes, there's one part left of this, and I'm going to cover that for the last few minutes. I aim for this to be 45 minutes long, and it probably won't be. I would love it if, as this series goes on, I could make the information available early enough for people to actually join me live, and that's something I want to train myself to do. So I will endeavour to do that. But just now I want to move to the question of how can we use our awareness to inform what we do? How can we use our awareness to inform our decision making? How can we use it how can we harness it to be more efficient in the world, to be more effective, not to waste time, to be satisfied, to really gain our heart's desires? How can we use it? How can we harness it? And I would describe it thus. I would say, once we are listening, we can then make decisions. And learning to be perceptive of what our feelings are and what our notions and our preferences are can be a long process. How long has it taken me? Nearly 3 decades to properly be aware of the tiniest little shifts. And I'm getting good at it now. I'm also getting good at it while I'm in company and feeling it and listening to it when I am in a place where there are lots of people, that sort of thing. So obviously the awareness is the first part of it, because then we can go on to make decisions with it. And whether we go on to make decisions is another part of the development. But just now I'm talking about the awareness itself. And I suppose in a way it also relies upon us being conscious that we are aware of what we're aware of. So we're taking another step up now, almost to a witness place of our awareness of what we're feeling. And then we have to process it. And we have to deal with the conditioned parts of us, the characters within us, the parts of our personality that have been trained and we have carried on using, perhaps critically or not critically, who knows, but we've carried on doing it, which has meant that we have to suppress some of our awareness and we have to choose not to feel the feelings or to translate the feelings as something else. So if we look at some behaviours and some results of some behaviours of suppression, we come to the idea that if we have been taught that anger is inappropriate to express, we will then somehow pretend that we're not aware that we're angry. That's one of the ways of dealing with it, is to pretend it's not happening. Unfortunately, the feeling, of course, is still there, because whether we're choosing to act on it or not, the feeling is still there. So this is where we have to learn a technique like rebirthing, or any of the numerous other things that people are using to retrain, to let go of some of the conditioning, to make a deal with some of our internal machinations that tell us that we should or shouldn't feel such a way, because we can't tell ourselves what to feel. We simply do feel it. That's where having a young person in the family is really handy, because you can see the power of the feeling. It's really useful. Watch it, learn, and know that if that volition is thwarted, the feeling is going to go somewhere else. And I'm intrigued, but also really understanding as a rebirther, and having talked to a number of other breath workers within the British Rebirth Society, that I and they, we don't get ill, or at least far less than other people do. I haven't been ill myself for so long it's hard to remember. I mean, an infectious illness here. Probably before I did rebirthing, I think. So that's about 28 years. Whenever I tell people I haven't been ill for a long time, they say, not even a cold. And I think, well, particularly a cold. Isn't a cold really easy to avoid if you listen to yourself, look after yourself, do what you need? Yeah, I think so. And so, yeah, it's something that's a natural occurrence, is to be well. Worth it in itself, isn't it? So becoming aware is really, really useful. I hope you've liked my little talk about this. I hope you would love to join me next time. If you listen to the replay of the recording, then that's lovely. Well done. And I will be posting, I reckon I'll probably do another one in about a fortnight. Feels like the right sort of gap. And the next one will be about integration, because that's the next principle of rebirthing breathwork. And I find them really helpful places to start off from when having a discussion about spiritual connection and growth. So thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.